How we doing, everybody? Welcome to our week 4 readings here. In this video here, I'm going to do my nuggets from our 6 readings. Starting with the Fournier, Dobstra, and Glenn Mick article, Preventing the Premature Death of Relationship Marketing. I like this set of articles compared to last week's. We had CRM last week, we had CRM this week. And last week was a little bit more of the pie in the sky, all the upsides to CRM. This week we're seeing a little bit of the flip side of that argument, that some of it's a lot of talk and no action, and some of it's a lot of a one-way relationship just from the firm, and there's no relationship with the actual end user, no one-to-one. Some of it is just, talk. Well, Susan, who's someone I actually know pretty well, she was at Harvard when she wrote this article. She's now at BU. Here's her profile right here on the webpage at BU. If you go into the same database, you pull this article, and you like Susan's stuff, you can just drop her name in the same way you found this article and find a whole bunch of other awesome research, particularly on relationships, particularly on branding, and particularly on technology use by consumers, or the fact that they have problems using the technology. Well, the cool thing about this article is there's some really awesome quotes, and I'm going to read some of these to you. So I am at the very bottom of page 43 going to the top of page 44. And it says, "This mounting wave of unhappiness has yet to reach the bottom line. Sooner or later, however, corporate performance will suffer unless relationship marketing becomes what it's supposed to be, the epitome of customer orientation." Now, I did see in our nugget journals and our questions, a lot of people are starting to see these elements of market orientation every time similar language pops up. And this is exactly the case. If you're a market-oriented firm, and you have this external relationship with customers, external orientation towards consumers, external orientation towards customers, competition, consumers, customers, same thing, competition, second one, and third one is the hard one, the interfirm communication. If you have this strong relationship with your customer base, and it is a two-way flow, then you could say one of the 3 pillars of market orientation you have. Oh, something else I should say before I get into this. This is, again, buzzwords kind of things. CRM is probably really the proper term. We've had articles that called it one-to-one. We now have an article calling it relationship marketing. But really, we're talking about philosophically the same thing, developing a stronger relationship with our customer base. And really, it's a learning relationship, and we're trying to retain these existing customers to see if we can add more value to their experiences so we therefore can create more purchases. If we see, and we're staying on page 44, there's a lot of language between seeing it from the eyes of the consumer. One of the things that Susan's research does is she tends to, and she has an advertising agency background. She worked before she went and got her PhD and went back in academia. She was in, some really large, corporations and ad agencies. But one of the things that Susan does really well is she really does look at these things from the consumer's perspective. Every article that we've had about CRM last week and this week pretty much talk about it from the firm's perspective. We actually have another one this week to talk about it from a little bit from the consumer's perspective. But that's an interesting thought, so you could write that one down. She also, from the consumer's perspective, we may not want loyalty cards from every company we do. Sometimes you go to the store, and I go into Sports Authority, I just want to buy something. If I go into Dick's, I just want to buy something. I'm not in the mood for the loyalty card. I'm not in the mood to sign up and do all that other stuff. I can't juggle that many relationships. There are some that I really do want to maintain a relationship, And there's others I just want to make a purchase. I like that on page 44, the top right corner, I like this other nugget, the disconnect between the give and get. You know, where too many marketers are taking all the benefits for themselves and they're not giving enough benefits or value to the users to engage in one of these relationships. Okay? See, what else do we see in here? We see this idea of friendship come up. In relationship, you sort of have to think about it as like a friendship. If there's no friendship, we don't have it. The other thing that I wanted to point out about this article here, on page 50, I'm in the left-hand column about halfway down. There's a little quote here I'm going to read to you. To get inside people's heads, marketers need to turn to tools such as ethnography and phenomenology, qualitative social science methods dedicated to enriching and describing and interpreting people's lives. You know, her goal is to see it from the consumer's perspective. In order to see it from the consumer's perspective, you need to have a lived experience. Well, my definition of marketing is find out what people want and give it to them. Well, spend a good amount of time finding out what they want, finding out about their lives, their lived experiences. Susan's a very big fan of ethnography, and most of her papers tend to be more qualitative, in-depth kind of work. Very good stuff. I'm a big fan of this article. It kind of gives us that flip side of CRM and not just all of the corporate side of CRM. Speaking of corporate side of CRM and the downsides to CRM, we have avoid the 4 perils of CRM. And some of this article I hinted at in our last video with the articles. And when I was mentioning that my line that I use every time I teach this class, you know, software does not solve a philosophical problem that you have at the firm. Software does not solve the culture at your firm. You know, CRM is a philosophy. It is a strategy. And you need that strategy before you use the software. You know, the software only helps you implement the strategy. The software doesn't fix a problem that you have at your firm. So we see here, peril number 1, implementing the CRM before creating a customer strategy. Meaning, you know, if you don't have a culture of retaining existing customers, all the software in the world is not going to help you. And we see here on the right-hand column of page 102, right underneath the photo here, the reason effective customer relationship management is based on good old-fashioned segmentation analysis. This is our steep skew, our 2% is 50% of our revenue kind of conversation. If we don't do this segmentation analysis, if we don't look at our customer base and decide, okay, are there people that we want to develop stronger relationships or not, then having the software is not very helpful. On page 103, now we also have a nice call-out box on this very same idea on page 103, starting with a strategy. And instead of using the word strategy, just tell yourself you need a reason why before you buy the software. If you don't have the reason why, then there's no reason for you to spend all that money for the software, the hardware to put the software on, and the training needed to get your employees to use that software in the hardware that you just bought. You know? Peril number 2, rolling out the CRM before changing your organization to match. I think I've hammered this one pretty well. You know? Peril number 3, I'm on page 104. Assuming that more CRM technology is better. Again, it's not about the technology. It's more about the reason why you want to buy software to help you with this strategy. Number 4. Peril number 4, page 108, bottom left-hand corner. Stalking, not wooing customers. Okay? This is really what Susan's talking about in this article, the give-get ratio. And the fact that, maybe there's a customer that doesn't want to have the relationship with you. I like this quote that I have here in the middle of page 108. We have the story of the Dallas Morning News. They thought that they were trying to build a relationship with a customer, and they were using telemarketing to do it, which is ridiculous, to be honest with you. But really, all the messaging was one way. It wasn't two-way. There wasn't any information coming back from the consumer that they felt that they were part of the relationship. Something else about this article before I move on to the next one. This article talks a lot about the costs, and I think the numbers here that when we were talking about this in the early 2000s, these numbers are way higher than what they are now. I don't think the CRM software, the servers, what you need in order to implement CRM, even the training's easier now. The software interfaces are easier now. They're less customizable. They're more in a friendly environment that someone could almost pick it up and within a 30-minute training session really have a good feel for what it is. Okay? Article number 3. Nunez and Mr. Xavier. Is your loyalty program betraying you? Okay? If you notice, this says toolkit at the top of the page, meaning this is a how-to article. So within the marketing literature, obviously professors are extremely interested in loyalty. There's no discussion of satisfaction, really. We're well past that. What we have here is a very deep discussion on exactly what a loyalty program is and what loyalty programs can do for you and not do for you. This is a fantastic article if you have, if a company, the division or the product or the brand or whatever you're working on at right now, if they're having this discussion, come back to this article, bring these bullets up in the meeting. What can a loyalty program reasonably do for you? It can help keep customers from defecting. In other words, you can create some barriers to exit, which is really what happens with the Newark airport. We keep flying Continental because we have all these airline miles with Continental. And it behooves us to go to another airline when we should just continue accumulating our airline miles here. I have not left AT&T because I'm grandfathered into AT&T's unlimited data because I got my iPhone way back when, way back when. If I get a new iPhone contract, I don't get unlimited data anymore. So it's keeping me from defecting. Win a greater share of wallet. There is no question that CVS has a significantly higher percentage share of wallet than any other drugstore option for the Laddick household. And that's what that loyalty program does. It helps us focus, not us, CVS's loyalty program, we kind of use it as a default. We tend not to even think about other drugstores, even though they're all in the neighborhood. Prompt customers to make additional purchases. If they know your purchasing history, CVS gives you the coupons. Bed Bath & Beyond sends you stuff at home. They give you incentives to purchase again. Or, in the case of a museum, to visit again. They have the data. And lastly, turn insight into customer behavior and preferences. Well, I hope that that's what they're doing. Very good. Firms make use of the data. They don't just collect the data. And finally, they turn a profit. Most of them tend to be quite profitable. All right, now I'm coming for one of the best nuggets of the whole week in this whole set of readings. And it's on page 127. And it's called the endowed progress effect. This is a spectacular nugget because it works. I mean, it's the same offer. Buy 8, get something free. Get 2 free. Buy 8, get 2 free. But if you give the get 2 free first, all of a sudden, the frequency of purchases, like we have with card 2, it's like having wind at your back. If you have the first 2 free, you tend to go faster through the 8 because you think you're closer to the end when you start. It's a very, very neat thing. And this is something you could use at work. It has a terrible name. Here's academics coming up with something. The endowed progress effect. Doesn't sound like anything that the way I just described it. However, it works. Please write it down in your nugget journal. Use it at work. So this levers of loyalty. Some other awesome nuggets here. The rewards in a loyalty program, there needs to be certain things that trigger the rewards. All right? So we have, first thing is the divisibility of the rewards. Make it easy for people to get a reward. Don't set the bar so high that, I don't know if it's really worth going into this loyalty program because I don't know what it is. I don't know how long it's going to take me. If it makes sense and there's a low divisibility of rewards in the program, you're going to get more people to participate. Sense of momentum, this is the endowed progress effect. Nature of the rewards. Well, usually what happens is the rewards need to be understandable. I remember, for instance, this is not an exact example, but it's something that's off the top of my head. The iTunes uses dollars as its currency. Regular US dollars. When Microsoft wanted to create with iTunes and iPod way back when, they had Zune and they created some kind of a marketplace. They created a different currency. Facebook actually has a different currency too. And by having a different currency, Facebook credits or whatever the heck it is, this makes it more difficult for someone to grasp what it is. It's harder. Make it simple. Simpler, better. What else do we have here? Finally, on 129, mistakes to avoid. Don't create a new commodity. I think I just hammered that. Don't reward disloyalty. Meaning, when I go to Acme, if I don't have my card, they'll still give me the discounts. They'll just take another card and go beep. That doesn't help you from a data perspective. Right? Don't reward volume over profitability. And we have this situation. I know I have questions about Atlantic City in our questions, so I'll save that for then. But yes, if the more you segment, the better you can adjust for the rewards. And here's an example with casinos with slot machines versus roulette wheels. You're not comping people if they're only doing slot machines. Maybe they get a free buffet, but they're not getting a nice suite. And you don't give away the store, which means, the bottom customer tiers, the lower segments of your customers, not the most profitable ones, you're not giving them all the same services. Outside that, very good toolkit article. Best practices. This is almost as close to a toolkit article as you can get without it being an actual toolkit. Marketing when customer equity matters. And even though we're talking about customer equity, we're all in this same worldview of CRM, of customer relationship management, of customer lifetime value, all these terms that we've been talking about the retention of customers and how profitable it is. So what these professors did is they used Wachovia and they did a major analysis. Before I do that, I'm on the page 118, the top left-hand corner of page 118. Tactical insights at this level are what many companies want. Note, however, that the ultimate performance measure in both cases is unit sales or revenue, and lessons learned to improve profits in the near term. For businesses that depend on building long-lasting, profitable relationships with customers, existing models still fall short. One of the things that overall in our class this whole semester across all the articles, we're all looking for the tactics in our minds, like the how-to, but I'm more interested in the why, which is the strategy. I like the why questions. Why are we doing CRM better than the how-to CRMs? Now, we do have toolkits. I do talk about a number of tactics throughout the semester, but I want you to make sure that you distinguish that tactics is not strategy. How-to is not why. All right, what else do we got here? I'm on page 119 when we're talking about customer equity. All customer equity goals can be broken down into three major and measurable components: customer acquisition, customer retention, and cross or upselling existing customers. So I like how, and this is on page 119, left-hand side of the page, left column, in the middle, dead center pretty much. I like how the authors clearly defined those three things. And those are some of the goals in that CRM worldview. Okay? What else do we have here? Anything else mind-blowing here? Let me see. Page 122. I like this idea on the graph. Marketing spending only gets you so far. And sometimes spending in the wrong zone really doesn't get you anything at all. There's decreasing marginal return, basically, using an old marketing term. Outside of that, I think we're pretty good here. Article 5 is not an article. It's actually a one-pager. And I saw this when I was finding new articles for this semester because I haven't taught this course in a year. And I like that this is a little bit in the spirit of the first two articles where it talks about the downsides of CRM mentality or loyalty programs. And some of these we've heard in the other articles, but it's always nice to take a look at them again. So the first one, rewards are based on the wrong metric. Here we are, we're rewarding, both frequent flyers in coach and first class the same when first class spent so much more. The cadence is too slow. This is more the endowed progress effect again. We over-reward the top 2%, meaning we're focusing too much on one segment and not one of the other segments. And lost status can destroy relationships. Absolutely. Good nuggets there. All right, our last article. Better customers' insight in real time. When I pulled this article, this was the first time I've used it in class. I had very high hopes that this was going to be exactly what I wanted it to be. We have this CRM relationship. It's a learning relationship. And my definition of marketing is find out what people want and give it to them. There's issues with marketing research. It takes a long time. It's laggy. people may not be giving you their honest opinion. So is there a way to get this data faster in more real time? And that's what I was hoping what this article was. And then I read it. And philosophically speaking, it was still doing that. Exactly how as I just described it. However, it wasn't as great as I really wanted it to be. Confession. You know, philosophically, yes. It talks about the advantages of internet-based tools. It talks about the disadvantages of ethnographic tools that Susan brought up in the beginning first article. Very labor-intensive and expensive. I'm disappointed that they only talked about this RET, real-time experiencing tracking tool. I mean, sometimes I don't know why the Harvard Business Review let people get away with this. I mean, these guys are obviously consultants / professors, and they created something, and they just used HBR to help them sell it. And that's it. And on top of that, I don't even think it's all that great of a tool. You know, in my opinion, if we're talking about real time, there should be less effort by the user and their phone than what they have to do here. I mean, this is kind of a little complicated that we could see error, user error, just inputting the data. Although they only do AE 5 or 4, they could easily screw up the brand, the touch point, the positivity, or the persuasiveness. You know, and then it has to go into a diary at some point. I don't know. Maybe I just had higher hopes for this, and that's why I'm kind of bummed. But conceptually, okay, I want you to keep this idea in your head. With social media and social media listening, okay, we have a better feel of what's happening in the marketplace. We can listen on Twitter, through Facebook. We can get that in-depth customer experience data faster and integrate those into the firm, inter-firm communication, and then make changes and be more market-oriented going out. Conceptually, great idea. This is not a great toolkit article. Okay, class, gracias. I'm going to close this video down, and I'm going to start working on the questions video. Thanks.